The first time Lily fell into my life, she literally dropped out of a tree. 3 months earlier, I had moved to a quiet suburb outside Portland, Oregon, trying to outrun a breakup that still followed me like a shadow. My name is Jace. I'm 25, freelance interior designer, recently single, and very bad at pretending things don't hurt. Sarah, my ex, said I had no direction, no 5-year plan, no future she could trust. She wanted corner offices and certainty. I wanted work that felt like mine, so I packed my life into a beat-up Subaru, left the noise of the city, and rented a small one-bedroom house with creaky floors, a tiny kitchen, and a backyard split by a shared fence. My mornings were quiet on purpose, coffee beans ground by hand, jazz playing low, laptop open at the kitchen table while I sketched designs for clients I never met in person. That morning was supposed to be the same, a virtual consultation with a couple in Seattle, minimalist living room, neutral tones, safe choices. Then I heard a voice. At first, I thought it was a TV. Then it came again, clearer, panicked, drifting in from the backyard. "Hey, are you down there?" I froze, pencil hovering mid-air. I stood, walked to the back door, and stepped onto the porch. The grass was still wet with morning dew. And there, in the old oak tree that sat right on the property line, was a woman. She was about 10 feet up, perched awkwardly on a thick branch. One arm hugged the trunk. The other held a squirming calico cat. Leaves tangled in her dark hair. A gray sweater snagged on a twig. She looked down at me with wide green eyes that somehow mixed embarrassment with humor. "Don't ask why I'm up here," she called. "Just help me figure out how to get down." I recognized her instantly, the new neighbor, Lily. I'd seen her unloading boxes, watering plants in the evenings. Mid-40s, maybe. The kind of presence you notice without trying to. We'd never spoken before. "You planning on jumping?" I asked, trying to sound calm. She looked down, then back at me, glancing at the cat in her arms. "Only if you're planning on catching me. I'm not exactly light, especially with this menace." I stepped off the porch and stood directly beneath her. My feet sank into the damp grass. I realized I wasn't wearing shoes. I spread my arms. "Jump," I said. "I'll catch you. Trust me." She hesitated, biting her lip. The branch creaked. Leaves fluttered down between us. "You sure?" she asked. "Last thing I need is taking out the new neighbor my first week." "I've got you," I said. "You'll need both hands, but I've got you." She took a breath, hugged the cat tighter, and let go. Time slowed in a strange way. She dropped straight down, sweater riding up slightly, legs tense. I braced myself, feet planted, heart pounding. She hit me square in the chest, solid but not crushing. The impact knocked me backward. We went down together. The cat bolted the second it hit the ground, disappearing into the bushes with a dramatic yowl. Lily landed on top of me. Her body was warm, softer than I expected. Her hair fell across my face, smelling like shampoo and fresh earth. My arms had wrapped around her waist without thinking. Her hands pressed into my shoulders as she steadied herself. For a moment, neither of us moved. Our faces were inches apart, up close. Her eyes were greener than I'd thought, flecked with gold. A small scratch marked her cheek. Her breath was quick from the adrenaline. Mine caught somewhere in my throat. "You okay?" I asked, my voice rough. She blinked, then laughed. A real, unguarded laugh that cut straight through me. "I think so," she said. "You told me you'd catch me." She rolled off me and sat up, brushing leaves from her sweater. I sat up too, heart still racing. The spot where she'd been felt strangely empty. "That was not how I planned my morning," she said, standing and offering me her hand. I took it. Her grip was firm, calloused, probably from gardening. "Rescuing cats from trees," I said. "New one for me." "Pudding's a menace," she said, glancing toward the fence where the cat had vanished. "Climbs up, forgets how to get down. I couldn't just leave him." "Well," I said, rubbing the back of my neck, "mission accomplished. Cat saved, neighbor flattened." Quote. She smiled, tilting her head. "You're Jace, right? From next door?" "Yeah, and you're Lily." She nodded. A little color rose in her cheeks. "Thanks for the save. I owe you coffee, or dinner, or something." "No need," I said, though the idea lingered. Just glad you're okay." She shook her head. "No, I insist. Come over later. I make a mean tomato soup." I hesitated. Work waited inside. Deadlines. But something in her voice made me nod. "All right." Later. As she walked back toward her side of the fence, waving over her shoulder, I stood there a moment longer. The yard felt different now, charged. I didn't know it then, but those few seconds in freefall had already shifted something. And nothing in my quiet little life was going to stay the same. The rest of that day passed like I was moving underwater. I tried to focus on work, on fabric swatches and layout notes, but my mind kept drifting back to the way Lily had laughed while sitting on my chest, the warmth of her weight, the way the morning light caught in her eyes. By the time 6 o'clock rolled around, I'd closed my laptop without remembering half of what I'd finished. I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual, tugging on a clean flannel, telling myself it was just dinner. Nothing more. Still, my stomach felt tight as I crossed the short stretch of grass between our houses. Her place was a mirror image of mine, but warmer somehow. Flower boxes spilled over with late-blooming marigolds. A welcome mat actually said, "Welcome." I knocked twice. The door opened almost immediately. "Hey, hero," Lily said, stepping aside. She'd changed into a soft cream sweater, jeans rolled at the ankles, bare feet on the wooden floor. Her hair was still a little wild, but now it looked intentional. The inside of her house smelled like garlic and simmering tomatoes. A single bulb over the stove cast a soft glow over mismatched counters, and a loaf of bread cooling on a rack. A bottle of red wine sat open beside 2 mismatched glasses. "Hope you're not allergic to Simple," she said, stirring a pot. "Tomato soup, grilled cheese, and whatever this wine is. I think it's from Trader Joe's." Simple sounded perfect. We ate at a small table by the window while the sky outside turned lavender. The soup was rich and warm, flecked with basil. The grilled cheese was thick sourdough with sharp cheddar and a hint of spice. "So," she said, pouring wine, "tell me about the guy who catches falling neighbors before breakfast." I laughed. "Not much to tell. Freelance designer. Moved here after someone decided I wasn't ambitious enough." She listened without pity, just recognition. "I get that. I taught art for 15 years. Loved the chaos." Then the divorce. The burnout. I quit and started writing about slow living and growing things. Turns out, people pay to read about failing at tomatoes. "Pudding has a following," I said. "He does," she agreed. I just feed him. Conversation flowed easily, music tastes, bad habits, why fitted sheets are a lie. At some point, we moved to the couch. Pudding appeared and claimed my lap like it was his birthright. Lily sat close beside me, knees tucked under her. "You know," she said quietly, "I didn't expect anyone to catch me this morning, literally or otherwise." "I didn't expect to be caught either," I admitted. The words hung there, heavier than intended. She didn't look away. Later at the door, she handed me a tin of shortbread. "For breakfast. Or midnight." Our fingers brushed, not by accident this time. "Come back tomorrow," she said softly. "I make a decent lasagna." As I walked home, the night smelled like tomatoes and possibility, and for the first time in months, my house didn't feel empty. The next morning, a paper bag waited on my porch. Blueberries. A note in looping handwriting. "For the hero's pancakes. Don't burn them." I burned them anyway. Sent her a picture. She replied with laughter and an invitation for coffee. Days slipped into an easy rhythm. Morning coffee turned into garden patrol. I fixed things around her house. She fed me zucchini bread. Evenings stretched longer than planned. Spent on the porch watching the sky fade. Small rituals stacked up. Her gate stayed unlatched. I kept a spare mug in her cupboard. Pudding learned my footsteps. One Saturday, rain threatened but held off. We decided to repaint her garden shed. Side by side, brushes moving in tandem, oldies playing low. When the rain finally came, we ran inside laughing, wet and breathless. In the kitchen, she wiped paint from my cheek. Her touch lingered. "You missed a spot," she said. That night, over lasagna and wine, she said quietly, "I used to think solitude was peace. It's not. Peace is this." I didn't argue. We didn't kiss. We didn't need to. The space between us had weight, promise. And I didn't realize it yet, but I was already falling. The rain came down hard that Thursday night, the kind that soaks the ground in minutes and makes the old oak tree groan like it remembers every storm it has ever lived through. I finished my last client render early, closed my laptop, and without really deciding to, walked to Lily's side gate. The key she'd given me turned smoothly. The latch clicked like it was waiting. Her house was dark, no porch light, no glow from the kitchen window, no pudding weaving around my legs. I knocked once, then again. Nothing. I called her phone, straight to voicemail. A tight feeling settled in my chest. The last time Lily disappeared without warning, she'd been 10 feet up a tree with a bad plan and a cat. I circled the house, rain soaking my jacket, boots sinking into mud. The garden shed stood open. Her rain jacket was gone. My thoughts raced through every worst case I could imagine. I even looked up at the oak, branches empty and swaying. By the time the sky turned charcoal, I was pacing her porch, phone in one hand, key digging into my palm. Then, headlights cut through the rain. A car pulled up. Lily stepped out, umbrella useless in the wind, a hospital wristband still on her arm. She looked smaller somehow, tired in a way that reached past the surface. She saw me and stopped at the bottom step. "Jace," she said. I swallowed. I thought something happened. She climbed the steps slowly. "My mom," she said quietly. "Stroke. Mild, they think. She's stable. But I had to be there." Relief and guilt hit me at the same time. I took the bag from her shoulder without asking. "Come inside." The house felt colder than usual. I put water on for tea, found the ginger and cinnamon by habit. She leaned against the counter, arms wrapped around herself. Pudding appeared and curled at her feet. She stared into her mug. I sat in that waiting room thinking about how many times I told myself I was fine alone, how distance was strength. Her voice cracked. I was scared I'd lose her before I ever admitted I wasn't fine. I stepped closer. "You're not hollow," I said softly. She looked up. "You don't know that." "I do," I said. "I know the woman who climbs trees for a cat, who leaves blueberries on a porch, who notices how people take their tea." Her eyes filled. She didn't look away when I brushed damp hair from her face. "I'm scared," she whispered, "of needing, of losing, of this." I took her hand. "Then don't hold, don't let go, just stand here with me." She leaned into me, trembling at first, then settling. We stood there while the rain softened. Pudding purring at our feet. "You still willing to catch me?" she asked. "Anytime you jump." That night she slept on the couch, her head against my shoulder. I stayed awake, watching her breathe, knowing something had shifted for good. Outside, the storm passed. Inside, the house felt like ours. And I knew I wasn't just catching her anymore. I was choosing to stay. The week after the storm moved slower, like the world was careful not to rush us, Lily drove to Portland every other day to help her mom adjust back home. She returned, tired but lighter, carrying grocery bags and stories about stubborn houseplants and doctors who talked too fast. When she wasn't there, I watered the garden, trimmed the basil, and left extra treats for Pudding so he wouldn't sulk. I didn't announce it, I just did it. When she noticed, she smiled like it mattered more than she let on. One Saturday, the sky stayed clear long enough for real work. Lily stood in the backyard, hands on her hips, eyeing the empty space between the rose bushes. "We need somewhere to sit," she said. "Somewhere that isn't the porch." Quote, I sketched a bench on scrap paper, simple, cedar, wide enough for 2 people and a cat who refused to choose sides. She approved immediately and paid me in rosemary bread still warm from the oven. We built it together. I cut the wood. She sanded the edges smooth. Sawdust clung to our clothes. Music played low from her phone. Pudding supervised from the lowest branch of the oak, tail flicking like he was keeping time. By dusk, the bench stood solid in the garden. That evening, we carried out mugs of ginger tea and a plate of shortbread. The bench creaked under our weight, then settled. Lily tucked her legs beneath her. I sat close enough that our knees touched. Pudding leapt down and claimed both our laps like it had always been his plan. I used to think being alone meant freedom, Lily said quietly. No explanations, no compromises. And now? I asked. Now I think explaining yourself to the right person is a privilege. I turned to her fully. I don't have a 5-year plan. She smiled. Good. I don't want one. I just want mornings with bad pancakes and evenings like this. Fireflies blinked on in the grass. The air smelled like wet earth and tomatoes. She leaned her shoulder against mine. I let my arm rest along the back of the bench, my fingers brushing her sweater. We didn't kiss. We didn't need to. Later, at the door, she looked at me and asked simply, "Stay?" I nodded. Inside, the porch light stayed on. The house felt lived in, shared, steady. Some stories don't end with big promises or dramatic gestures. They end with a bench built for two, a cat who refuses to move, and the quiet understanding that sometimes catching someone doesn't mean stopping their fall. It means walking beside them after they land.